as really enlightened character. Where do we go with that? What concepts do we have? Oh, that's Thich Nhat Hanh. That's this person that speaks on YouTube. Could it be that we have like five enlightened characters being with us right now on the Zoom? Really? As we if we could really see Sarah, if we could really see her, is that not all we would see? Is that beauty, that enlightened character? If we could really see Anne, you really look closely. You look closely at Anne, enlightened character. Oh, and then we just ought to be like in awe and in love with this that we're seeing. We can't even see Angie yet to see the enlightened character of Angie, but
She's driving, said she told us to pass on the message, and I didn't pass it on until now.
thank you.
She's driving and she'll be on video as soon as she's probably in a safe space to be on video.
Oh,
She passed
one
that.
perfect, Angie. Welcome. I love this enlightened character. And then you ready for the real challenge, everybody? This you're not gonna like this one. If you just everybody even knows where I'm going. If you look at your square, could it be that there's an enlightened character looking back at you? Oh, I called this today in the email like it's a party. It's a party, enjoying and celebrating everything. And maybe we'll play with that. Maybe we won't. I even have a song lined up for today. Like, but we'll see where it goes, kind of really based on what's here for each of us, because as we get to create this together. And so maybe just quickly we could go around and just hear, but literally like because I get in trouble in this one because I just want to like Sarah will say something and it's like, oh my God, that's brilliant, beautiful. And I just want to dive. And 20 minutes later, we're still diving with Sarah. So if we could just like 2 minutes, like what's the richness, what's here, what's interesting, or what's the difficulty? Because it's all the same as we celebrate what's here. And then we'll kind of co-create this. So that, and just before I do that, let me do my quick housekeeping that, as you guys know, I'm a mediator. I'm not a psychotherapist. And if everybody's good with being responsible for their own journey as we co-create together, if I could get a thumbs up, please. Awesome. Secondly, I've got this. I have it being recorded, but only my image is ever shared. However, the audio of yours could be, and I could share this with people who don't come, or sometimes I put it on my website and other places. And if you're uncomfortable at any point, just let me know. I make you a co-host, and you click pause on the recording. Or if you say something like, "Oh my God," just let me know at the end, and I'll delete it. Everybody's good with that? If I could get a thumbs up, please.
Verbal thumbs up.
Awesome. Yay, Angie. All right. So let's go around. Let's go around and hear just quickly what's here. Now, maybe I'll start with, I'm just going to do an order in my little screen. Let me start with goalie.
Hi everyone. Um, oh, yeah, what is talking to me today and every day I see the one being disguised in six beautiful beings here, six beautiful appearance here in all these six, including myself, all of us, in these little squares, along with everything else around me.
Thank you. Gosh, just for all of us. What's that like to hear that from goalie? What's it like to hear, wow, she's seeing the six of us as these beautiful appearances. What's it like to be seen that? What's it like to be seen that way? What's it like for you to be seen that way by goalie? And then if anybody's like wanting to go deeper into self, it's such a lovely game as we hear goalie's words, we also can we feel her as she sees this, as she knows this, that the beauty of all of us. Can you feel the self that's there in her, this quality of self? And what does it resonate with in you? What does it evoke in you as we are diving into this beauty of our nature together? Thank you so much, Goldie, for starting us off. Yay! Raymond!
Hey, so I'm going to share a little thing, Sid, that I did last night, and I feel confident to share it with this group. Because when you said earlier on, and I totally agree with Goalie, it's the same for me. There's no special persons involved. We're all special and beautiful and precious, but I mean special in the sense of enlightened, right? And one of the differences for me, Sid, is so I looked in my mirror last night. I came home and had a wee situation going on, and I looked in my mirror, and I often talk to myself with this same voice that I'm speaking to you with now. But I talk to myself as if I'm divine. So I'll look at my own eyes in the mirror, and I'm using my own voice, and I do it it's not a thought-based thing at all. I know it's not coming from thought, it's coming from my spirit. And I'll just say, and things come like almost like revelation type things. Like I said to myself in the mirror last night, don't be afraid to be powerful, Raymond. Don't be afraid to be powerful. And, I remember Sarah saying something the other week, and she said about me specifically, and she's of this divine presence and stuff like that. It's pure grace. And just when you said as well there, Sid, about Goalie, can we feel Goalie? Well, the more that we taste our own sense of the divine, and the more that we taste our own shadow, our shame, our guilt, our blame, whatever it is, then we automatically become empathic. And we can then pick up that same taste in others when they speak, because we're discerning this spiritually. It's not discerned skin and bone. So I'll just say that, Sid, that I would encourage people to believe in their divinity more, really believe it, really speak to yourself like you're divine. Don't not do that. We're all speaking as not divine. Start speaking as divine. Like you are divine. It's the truth. I'm not making this up.
Where do you go with that when you hear our friend Raymond say that? What's that like? Is it like, oh, wait a minute, he's up on the mountaintop, he's someplace different? Or like, can we, or it's just going to really be the six of us, what we are, what he's speaking of? What's it like? And what do we have parts that come up in response to that? What's that like for you? And perhaps this is what we're playing with today. When I say it's a party, perhaps it is a celebration of everything that is arising in us. And just like Raymond's saying, the more we taste our divine, which in IFS we just call self, the more we taste this being, this beauty that we are, and the more, as Raymond says, that we taste our shadows, any sense of lack, want, and he used the word shame and blame, the more we taste our shadows. And so that can be hard, right? Tasting it in ourselves. But as we each share our parts, we get to, if can we really taste it in others and celebrate the beauty in them, beauty in each other. And maybe that's what we're playing with today, and it makes it easier to go where Raymond's speaking of in this divine play. Thank you, Raymond. Okay, I'm taking a breath. Are you ready for Anne? Everybody ready? Anne, hey!
Hi, Sid. Hi, everybody. I was listening to one of your sessions last night on YouTube, and Gully was on it, and I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't have mentioned your name. And this, you were dealing with the same theme of party and celebrating everything that's here and everything that we are. And truthfully, in the beginning, I had a lot of resistance to it because I'm feeling in my life kind of like discouragement and disappointment in myself. Um, and by the end, I, I, I was more in alignment with the energy in the podcast. In the session. And right now, as I was listening to Raymond, I thought, oh well, I don't know if I could do that, and he's special, and blah blah blah. So, and I haven't been here for a long time because I experienced myself as being a real downer. I experienced myself that way in previous sessions, and um, I I wanted to give myself a break and see if I could break that cycle. So anyway, that's some of what I'm here with right now.
Mm. Wow. Love your discouragement and your disappointment. And that's that's what we're speaking about as a party. I know it sounds really crazy. Like, what? That's a party? Look how it touched us. Do you see there's tears here. There were tears in Sarah's, and you could see Raymond's face with as you were sharing. This is this is the good stuff for me. This is the good stuff, and such beauty. And it's just and if anyone's this is where it becomes so interesting for all of us. How are we responding to Anne's beauty that she's sharing? Are we just falling in love with it? Is it just love? And it's like, oh, this dear humanity. We just know it so well, and we know it in ourselves, and we welcome it in Anne. And then where it becomes really interesting is to find any parts that come up that might have, oh, I hope Anne feels better, or she changes, or she gets away from this discouragement and disappointment. And just to notice those parts that come up. And how is it for us when we feel like I experience myself as being a real downer? We can all relate to that, right? We all have that voice inside that part. I experience myself as being a real downer. What's it like when you hear Anne share that? Is it you fall in love with that voice, right? You fall in love with that part, and it's just so welcomed. And this is the gift for us. Like if we can truly, as we welcome it in Anne, this is the party. As we welcome it in Anne, it makes it easier to welcome it in ourselves. And like it doesn't stop the party if I feel like a real downer. Oh wow, that's invited to the party too. Any kind of final thoughts on this, Anne? Because I so appreciate what you shared.
And just thank you, Sid, for welcoming me here. And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Welcome back, Anne. We missed you. Welcome back. Oh, before we go to Sarah, just to notice how are you for each of us? How are you? How are you? Like what's in the foreground? Are there thoughts? Are there parts that are here? Like in me, there's just such an enjoyment of what's being shared. And then what's the background? What's the beingness? What are you resting in? Is it this that Raymond was pointing to, this like divine love? Is this being beauty, being beauty? Is it presence? Is it peace? Is it stillness? Or for some of us, sometimes here, I can't even find that. It's just, no, I'm thinking about God. I don't know what I'm going to say next, or that I feel awkward. To notice what's here. How are you? And can that be okay with whatever's here? And we just really, this is the enjoying part. And this is tricky. Like, can we really enjoy what's here? Even if it's a discomfort. And this is just moving the welcoming, taking the welcoming, turning the volume of welcoming up a little bit more, the sense of enjoying. All right. Okay, everybody ready for Sarah? Ready? Everybody got your seatbelts on? All right, Sarah.
Hi, everybody. Oh, it's good to see you. And it's really good to see you, Anne. I really hope you do come a lot more often, and you do feel welcome here. My system got really emotional and just felt a lot of compassion for that part that felt like a downer and like it's not welcome. I hope that part feels welcomed here so that you get to be here more often and we get to experience you, the gift of Anne. And I could see that part in myself as well. Whenever I take time off and I isolate, it's mostly to recharge. But sometimes, it is that part that feels like a downer. Like, oh, I don't want to infect everyone else with sadness, But it's also, taking. It's not just taking away the sadness; it's also the joy. If you're not around, you're not going to infect everyone else with joy. So just show up and be there however you are, and just maybe you'll get infected with joy when you show up with sadness. You never know.
How about that? Oh, sorry. Let me one thought, just
add
with what
real
you
quick.
shared, just as Sarah shares in her system, that there's a part that wants to isolate sometimes. As we hear her speak of that part, and it might be, I don't want to, how do you say, I don't want to infect others with my sadness. So I isolate. What's it like to hear her speak of that part? Do we just love that part and just welcomed? And then can we all relate to that? This one that isolates, doesn't want to infect others with what's here. Can we find that in our own system? And this is where it gets hard. Can we really, can we really see the innocence of that part in us? The innocence of it. Like, wow, it doesn't want to, I don't want to put this on other people. I don't want to spread that. What beauty, that innocence. And this is the party thing. This is the party thing, like really welcoming it, seeing the beauty of it, celebrating that part that's isolating. Like you'll have other parts that'll say it's a problem. I shouldn't isolate. If I don't isolate, I can go out and life will be richer. Those are just other parts, right? And then from this beingness, we can just adore this part that isolates, sees no problem with it. That's how that plays in each of us. Got anything else for us, Sarah?
Yes, it feels good to connect, even for that part that wants to isolate. Once it's out of, once it's out of its little cocoon, like it just blends in with everyone else, and it feels like, oh, I missed out on a lot. It becomes that FOMO part.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yes. And at the same time, can we truly welcome the isolator part when it's isolating from self? Can we find it's a subtle discernment, right? The self that just is totally okay with the isolating, even when there are lots of parts saying this is a problem. Let's pause for a minute because this has been so much hearing Goalie before we go to Angie, hearing Goalie and Raymond and Sarah. Anything bubbling that's wanting to be shared from our community? Anything bubbling here before we keep going?
Just a little thing from me, Sid, and again, it's related to what's being discussed here, and I need people to love. And I think that's the nature of love. I think the Lord's created us as broken just because he loves us. And I'm playing hooky right now from work, guys. I'm dodging my work to come here, and I want to be here. And see, just to hear you, Anne, that was enough for me to be here today. Because if there was no sadness, then what is it we're going to love? What are we going to love if there's nothing to love? So that whole experience for me, and I experienced the same in different ways, maybe, you know, not feeling good about myself, feeling, you know, like people don't want me to be there, or I get all those same feelings, and I'm learning to love them. And so when someone else shares a feeling like that, yeah, love needs those objects of appearance, or else what's the point?
Thanks, Raven. Anything else bubbly? Goalie!
Yeah, I want to mention something else too. The fact that we say like I say I don't want to spread my sadness or the fact that I'm a downer. That comes from that knowledge that we know that we all are interconnected. We all are one being. That if I say it's all, we all are one. That one, that knowing is itself is a divine knowing. And that one, that being is the love itself. So it tells us just put everything on me. I am here to accept everything, even your sadness, any part that you're noticing, just put it back on me. I can take it. I am not affected by it. So we all are one. When you talk about your parts, whatever they are, even if you think they are wrong or whatever, they are not. They can be spread, and we all are here to help each other to connect with that one divine being that we all are.
What did you hear in what Goalie just shared as she speaks to this beautiful sharing of Sarah and Anne, a part that might want to isolate because it doesn't want to spread the sadness. And then what Goalie's pointing to, like, wow, in that part, can you hear spread the sadness because there's intrinsic in that is this connectedness that we all are, is this understanding of connectedness and relatedness and perhaps even oneness that Goalie's pointing to. Is that helpful? Even when we hear a part that might be a real problem, might be like, what are you doing? You shouldn't do this. It's like we can if we can hear what Goalie's pointing to, this oneness and connectedness that's here beneath it all. How am I doing? Anything else, Goalie?
I see. Thank you.
Thank you. And how you opened this door for us. How are you doing with all of this?
Um, I, what you say, Gully, is said very plainly and simply, and yet I think it's above my understanding, my emotional understanding, because oftentimes I get too blended with these feelings of discouragement or disappointment in myself or other things, anxiety, and I don't recognize that they're parts of me. They're not myself, the one that is connected to everyone else. And I get confused sometimes about parts and self, because parts make me feel like I'm the only one, that I'm isolated, that I've got problems, and the self. My experience of the self is not very strong, maybe, but I when I do experience it, it's like the sky or the wind, or um, it, it's vast and open um, and present, and yet it seems and can hold all my parts, and yet it seems indifferent. So I'm a little confused. That's how I am.
Let me ask us all a question as we hear Anne sharing. Can you notice, do you have a part that comes up that wants to help? It's like, oh, be kind of help her find more self, help her contextualize this. And just can we notice that part? Might want to help. And to also see the innocence of it, the beauty of that part, and the love of that part. And this is when it gets subtle. Can we see the beauty in what Anne is sharing and where she is sharing from this idea of self, that there is no problem here. There's absolutely no problem in what's being shared. That there's blendedness happens with discouragement, disappointment, and anxiety. And then there are glimpses of self as this sky, this wind, this vast openness, this presence. But it feels like an indifference. As we hear all of that, it's almost like a theater, like the theater, like this is how this beauty is playing out in our friend. See if we really can see the beauty of the theater of Anne, of the life of this love, this expression that's playing out in Anne. And then for Anne, my question is, can okayness be touched with what is, with what you shared? Wow, there's discouragement, disappointment, anxiety. At times I get blended with these parts and I do feel alone. Let's just see if you can glimpse okayness with just what it is. Wow, this is how life is playing for Anne right now. How are you? I guess I won't put you on the spot, Anne, but if you have anything you'd like to say about that with the sense of the okayness or what's touched, or like, Sid, are you crazy? No, it's not okay. I don't like this isolation. I don't like blending with parts. I don't like this. How you doing, Anne?
Well, I have moments when I feel alone with all this stuff. I feel insane sometimes. And then I do the work of Vi and Katie, and I get some relief, and I get some perspective. But it's like um, it's an ongoing process of getting perspective and um, feeling safe and alive and happy, and falling into despair and feeling alone um, and blended, and like I'm believing my thoughts. I can't see beyond. So I think that's what I've been so discouraged about lately is, um, some people seem to do the work of Byron Katie, for instance, and have a real
Yeah.
enlightenment
Yes. Yeah.
experience, and it seems to last. And I have many enlightenment experiences that don't last, and
Yeah.
so I I question myself, like, what's
Yeah.
going on? I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much
This
time.
is oh, it's just what Anne shared. Could it be that I don't know who Raymond was speaking of somebody that when we were playing with that word enlightenment, But like for all of us, we have different people. Goalie and I, like this guy Rupert Spira, we all have different people who represent that for us. I think we just heard that for the last few minutes from Anne. Like the real rubber hits the road this week. We can all find this, right? We all, if we could really dive into what she was sharing intimacy, we all know this. Wow, I'm having an enlightenment moment. If there's peace, there's connectedness, there's love. And then, oh, damn it, I lost it. I'm back blended with this thought, the sense of isolation, the difficulty, the anxiety. And how would you say it? It was like there's a perspective, it like goes back and forth. And then we use different tools, like Anne uses this work of Byron Katie. Is it true? That can kind of bring us to this place. And then we blend back with a part. And in just toying with this idea of it's a party, which is just the sense of being able to see the beauty in this play, the beauty in it all, that we've just had a guru speak to us in this depth of how this plays out in all of us, this in facilitating us from Anne. And then again, let me just go back to this last thing before we move on to any other comments and Angie. Can we still discern, as Anne shared, can we find that part that wants to help? Because I'm guessing in our own system, like it was very much, I was in my own inner journey as Anne was sharing. I'm guessing we have parts that's like, yes, I want what Byron Katie speaks of. I want that all the time. I don't want this other thing. Like, can we hear the part that prefers that? And can we just hear that as a sweet part that's trying to help us? And then if we can go back to it's a party to see the beauty, or just party doesn't work, just loving, like, to use Katie's word, Byron Katie uses this word, loving what is. And I'm just using party instead of that, but it's just really the enjoying, or using the enjoying or celebrating of what is. Like, can we, what Anne shared and how that plays out in each of us, can we really love and welcome that just as it is, and even enjoy it and not see a problem? This is the sense of the okayness. That self is a yes, right? It just is that okayness. And then the parts want to make, they want to help, they want to make things different, they want to change. Okay, anything bubbling, just as we're all exploring it together, then we haven't even heard from Angie yet. Anything else bubbling with Anne's great share? Right. So here we are, here we are, here we are, here you are, here I am, here we are. What's that like? What's it like to be here? What's it like to be here? Do you feel the presence? Look at Gully, the aliveness, this being, this presence, this being, this it gets echoed amongst all of us, and here we are. And then we have all of our parts coming up, whatever's here in the foreground, and it just gets to be welcomed and included. All right. Angie in her car, but parked now. What's going on?
Can you hear me? Okay. Wow, it's hard to go last because uh, I'm appreciating Anne's disappointment because it's helping me see what was going on with me just getting here. That the part of me that was like, I am making this meeting if it's the last thing I do. And the part of me that's willing to come in late, willing to be sitting in my car. But then the other part of me that was like, no, you can't do that. You can't come in late. It's disruptive, blah, blah, blah. And then is disappointed. Like, why didn't you schedule better time? Why didn't you leave earlier? And was disappointed to the point that like I wasn't going to come. And so I'm sitting here now experiencing all this, and I'm seeing how those two parts, like one was going to overtake the other one. And I'm just so grateful that I can, yeah, that this is okay, that I can be the one sitting in my car, coming in late. Like, this is okay. And it was my disappointment in myself that Anyway,
What's it like, Angie? What's it like to be with that those two parts, to be with that tension? And we can all feel this, right? That she describes these two parts. I'm going to be here no matter what. This is important. Are you crazy? You're going to disrupt. You shouldn't have done it this way. You should do it differently. Why are you doing it? It's like you can feel the tension. What's it like? What's it like for you, Angie? And what's it like for all of us to feel this tension in Angie? These two parts. And for all of us, is it a problem? Like, can we feel it? Even like the difference between the tension that Angie's describing and when Goalie speaks of just this is the unity, this oneness. And to notice in your system if there's a preference for moving towards self, moving away from the tension, or if we can, can we be okay with the tension, which like Angie's pointing to this, what she was feeling in Anne, some of the disappointment, some of that, the discouragement. Can we be okay with that? What's it like to be with that, Angie?
it's freeing to move away from the tension. And it's freeing to see that in the tension was judgment. It was the fear of judgment and seeing that a part of me judges people if they're sitting in their car. It's like, oh, they must not have valued this meeting enough to get to a place. And I'm like, oh, that's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of the part of you that judges other people. And so, yes, there's freedom in seeing my judgment and moving away from that, beyond that. Feels really good. It's in me. It's in me. That's what I'm afraid of. It's in me. It's not in you. I'm not really afraid of you guys judging me. I'm afraid of the part of me that judges. Mm.
What's that like to hear? These judgment parts in Angie, and we might be able to even feel it, to feel some of the contraction that comes up, the tension that comes with these parts. Do we kind of pull away from it? Do we kind of go back into self or peace? Or can we be intimate with Angie's judgment parts? Really, when we feel the tension there, can we be, is there any problem? Are we trying to move away from it? Or can we truly welcome and just love her judgment parts? Because can you see the innocence of the judgment parts, right? They're like, oh, I don't want to be disruptive. I don't want to be a problem. I should do it this way. I need to do it's like there's just such innocence and beauty in the judgment parts. Like, can we really be intimate with those in Angie? Because this is the advanced stuff, right? If we can do that with Angie's system, then it's like makes it easier to really welcome them in our own. What else you want to share, Angie?
I'm I'm grateful that I made it. I'm just grateful that I made it, that I'm here. Thank you.
Lovely, lovely. So here we are, and as usual, even though it's hey, let's just go around and hear a little something, we can't because it's such an exquisite celebration as we hear each person share. But or maybe this is the limitations of me as a facilitator. Thank you, Angie. Uh, I'd like to take us on a little playful dive is my thought, but before we do that, is there anything else that's bubbling as we co-create together? Anything else that's coming up from Angie's share or from anyone's share so far? Okay. So then let's feel into what's it like to be here. To be here with the five of us. Angie in her car, she made it. And who we're just so happy to see after all this time. What's it like to be here in this connectedness, perhaps in more the sense of oneness of the shared being that Gully speaks of? What's it feel like? What's it like? What's the quality of self that's loudest in your system? in a presence. Peace is in stillness. More awareness. Is it the love that just kept arising as everyone was sharing? Flavor of self. The loudest flavor of self for you. And then what happens if you let yourself just sink into that? Sink into the self. Sink into this beingness. Sink in. What's that like somatically? For some, it's just like turning up the volume of this beingness. What do we feel here? What's the experience of the body then? Is it vibration? Is it presence? Is it love? Is it tenderness? Is it bliss? Maybe it's a really small presence of self that's here. Maybe it's just a silence or a stillness. I'd like to sink into that. And then from here, what's it like to include, to welcome all the thoughts, feelings, and sensations? It's like an infinite hot tub. Everything gets to be welcomed here in this warmth, in this beingness, in this love that you are. And it all be welcomed. And as it's all welcomed, even thoughts that come up, oh, I don't know if I like this meditation, or I have something else to do, or everything gets to be welcomed. To be welcomed and loved in this warm hot tub. Because that's what you are, this beingness just does welcome. And as you're welcoming, you notice like a resonance, just what Goli was speaking of, this sense of, is the hot tub truly different than that which is arising, than the thoughts, feelings, and sensations? And you find a common flavor, a common resonance, like the parts are not really completely separate from this. And the disappointment, the discouragement, the anxiety, and we glimpse where they are also of, use Anne's words, like the sky, this openness, this wind. What do we find? And as we're resting here, I'm going to turn on a little background music. We can just see what happens as this self, as this beingness pervades, and as the parts are welcomed. Great background. Can it be the song "We Are Family"? Can it be that everything is welcomed? All these parts are aspects of your family. Is anything that's arising in you truly separate? Really a family, all these parts, everything. playing with the party idea, the beauty, the welcoming, the innocence of everything that arises as you notice your parts. As you notice your parts, just the beauty and innocence. And is there a sense of connectedness, of family? Can what arises in you, can they notice that they're not alone? Just what Anne was speaking of earlier. Oops. Oh, as we gently start coming back together, we gently come back together. What's it like being you? Like inside? What was it like kind of going through the sense of just sinking into self and then opening up to welcome everything that was arising and then perhaps glimpsing the inseparableness of it all? What was it like when some music was turned on? Did it become a little bit more playful, lighter, or was it like parts like, what the hell? This doesn't work. I don't, what are we doing? Turn music on. Ah, what was it like for us? What was it like inside? All right, let's just open it up. What's going on? How's it going? And I'll share one more thing. So we used to do these dance parties like this and exploring it with music. And I also noticed that I didn't have it set. You notice the song started like two-thirds of the way into the song, so I kind of didn't have it set up so well, and I could feel almost a little embarrassment. There's embarrassment that comes up here, and just with all of this, and it was also, but I love the music. Something in me loves it. So anyway. That's some of the parts that are fun. How's it going, Anne? Hey, Anne.
I loved just what she played was perfect. So
Oops.
thank you.
Wait. Uh-oh. I can't hear you.
Can you
Oh,
hear me now?
oh, now I can. Oh, sorry. That was me with my volume. Thank you.
Okay. Just what you shared for the music was just beautiful. Um, and I I feel like um, like I'm able to hold my parts better right now than in the beginning, um, and to love them. And I see that I have this part that's my ego that's very self-centered um, and very both insecure and arrogant. It's really strange, or maybe not so strange. Um, and so I have that part and parts sort of like that, and then I have other parts who are more curious and like childlike uh, and generally when in my day as I go about, I don't see the innocence of the more egoic parts. I judge them, and so I judge myself. And what happened with that music and the reminder that we are family and we are family um, was just a loosening up, a lightening up. Um, it was sweet. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Anne. Yeah. And gosh, the depth of what you shared in the sense of recognizing parts both in insecurity and in arrogance. That for us. Can we track that? Could those be like the flip sides of the same? And can we see, just like Anne's saying, can we see the innocence in that? and we see the innocence of the arrogance that comes up in our parts, in our protector parts, right? I know it so well in my system when an arrogance arises, insecurity and arrogance. How does your system play with that? Thank you, Anne. Next.
So, Sid, I have a theory about the ego, my own ego. I say it's theory, it's more of a practice. And so I've learned that the ego is not an accident. Actually, it's very, very purposeful. And it's back to what I've said before. So imagine if you could love the parts of yourself that you don't like. That's very powerful, isn't it? So that's what I'm learning. I'm learning that my ego is here with all of its ups and downs and ins and outs so that I can learn to love. So every time, like what Anne's saying, every time some really judgmental part or something comes up, that is the opportunity for me to process that and love that. But I often, when I'm hearing people talk about the ego in different circles, it's kind of got a bad name, the ego, and I don't think it's a problem. Hear me here. I mean, it seems to cause some problems, but I think it's really placed there as a purposeful entity or not entity or whatever, so that we can learn to love. And if we can love ourselves with all the, I can only love someone else's part. Let's say someone described that they hated themselves, right? I can only love that because I've learned to love it in myself. Other than that, I can't really love it. I can hear it and I can understand it and I might be a bit compassionate, but to really love someone else's self-hatred, I think you need to have faced your own self-hatred and loved that first.
It's like the good news and bad news, isn't it? It's like the bad news. What you mean? I really gotta go in and like love my. I mean, it's what Angie was pointing to, right? Like the judgment. It was really just in her own system, and to really accept that. Um, and then what Raymond speaks of with this ego, these parts, and the way often we want to see them as a problem, or it's even the word ego is used in kind of a negative connotation often, isn't it? Like there's ego in contrast to, but then, I mean, like Sarah and Anne have been so vulnerable today and like highlighting some of their parts. Like if someone was like being critical of their parts and really like that part's a problem, wouldn't it just kind of make you, it just would hurt, right? If they were saying, if someone was saying something critical of their parts, it would just hurt because you were just like, how can you do it's like some sweet child, innocent child being reprimanded. It's like as you would see the beauty of that child. And I think that's what, for me, what Raymond was pointing to. And then eventually, I think what Raymond's pointing to is like, even when we have parts that are being mean and critical and judgmental of our parts, something starts to see the innocence of those. And I'll stop here. What else? What's bubbling? What's here? Other than I got to ally one more thing. I was like, God, that was awkward, Sid. It was like, there was definitely a little awkwardness with the music because there was awkwardness with it because it feels like there's awkwardness here. There's a little bit of awkwardness about that. What's going on?
Yes, again, first the music was perfect, actually. It was really good. Thank you for that. I just wanted to mention the fact that we are aware of the parts we are talking about, our parts, and seeing them. That eye that I who is aware of all of these, that is the divine I in each of us. That is the light of knowing, of seeing itself. So when we understand that divine part in us, not part, the divine being in us, so the inherent um, quality of that I is acceptance and love. So when we get in touch with that part, with that I, then everything is accepted and loved. And then when it comes to that, everything just goes, I mean, all those parts, they are melted in I, in that I, which is in heart. All those thoughts and all those judgments are in the mind. When we notice that being that divine in the heart, then everything is just playful. Everything becomes a party, as they said. We can just playfully accept everything and deal with everything. Everything comes and goes, all those feelings, all those parts. But the heart is always here. That divine being is always here. That's all I just wanted to mention.
That's all you have to say, goalie. That's it. Joke, 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 joke. Um, so what was that like for all of us? This divine eye. I love that word. I love the way I haven't heard it that way. When goalie says this divine eye, and she's speaking of this that's aware. This that aware is this divine eye. Like, can we touch that? Because we're all, are you aware for all of us? That's my question. Are you aware? Is there awareness here? You're aware of the thoughts that your thoughts, your feelings, you're hearing goalie, you're seeing us. This awareness, are you aware? And the goalie system somehow is able to track that awareness back. This that is aware to this essence of what we're calling self, this beingness. He's calling it this divine I. Hope from Angie. I have to. Oh, Angie has to leave now. Give us some final words, Angie. Tell us something.
Um, just gratitude. I just thank you so much. Thank you. And thanks everyone for being here. I really missed it and I'm excited. I'm so glad to be back.
Angie, I'm so glad you came. You came in your car. You came with your parts that were like, no, this is not appropriate. I love that you're here. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Mm. Again, just how are we doing with Goalie's divine eye? That the possibility that, because we all are aware, right? We all are aware. We're aware of the disappointment, the anxiety, the stress, the sense of maybe some embarrassment in Sid. I'm aware of the embarrassment that's here. I'm aware there's awareness of that. Then, like Goalie was sharing, that this it is aware. How did she describe this? It is acceptance and love. It's just like the self that is just a yes. This awareness is acceptance and love. And it's always here, right? We are always aware, and there's nothing we have to do for that. How are we doing with that? How are we doing? What's bubbling?
I'm going to drop off, Sid, because I'm robbing my employer at the moment. And I don't mind doing that because really I've got a higher employer than those guys. Yeah, just thank you. I'm really touched being here today, and I always learn something, always, every single time. So yeah, lovely to see you all. That was my computer screen going blank. That's why the light disappeared from my face. Look, there it's back again. So, Sid, take care.
Can I say a final word to you, Raymond?
Yeah,
That
sure, of course. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you. Outside of this group, there's the IFS non-dual community. Raymond has been really supportive of me in something that's been going on, and it just makes such a difference. It's just such a difference. And it's just, those times when we are vulnerable, when we do this, like Anne was saying, when we have a part that blends and you feel somewhat alone in something, and then you have a friend that just reaches out and holds your hand. And that's what my friend Raymond has done. And thank you.
You're very welcome, Sid. It's a pleasure. Never a chore. Okay. Thanks, guys. Love you. See you soon. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
How are we doing? What's going on? And yeah. Hmm. How is that, Sarah, for you, hearing Goldie speak of that? Speak of this divine eye. Where did you go with that?
I need to write that down because I got inspiration from it. I need to reflect more on the divine eye. That was so powerful. Thank you so much, Goldie. And I also I got distracted for a moment and I didn't hear the music. So yeah, I had laundry in the washing machine and it beeped, and if I don't pull it out it's gonna wrinkle, so I had to go and get it. And when I was back the music was gone, so I didn't really hear anything. And so that was my awkward moment. That I don't know what music was on.
I love your sharing of the awkward moment because
Yeah.
because you could, isn't it sweet, the awkwardness? Because I'm guessing you could feel it in me too as I talked about the music, and it's like, oh, this awkwardness that's here, and to hear it, and it's like as you hear it in me and you hear it in Sarah, can it just be like, oh, sweetness, this is awkwardness.
And
Yeah.
for some reason, when we're talking about the divine eye, all I can think of is that big eye from the Lord of the Rings. I don't even remember what it was called, but it was an evil eye though. It's the exact opposite. So I don't know why that came to my mind, but I that's all I can think of. I sketched it out on my notebook now, so I can reflect on this more later. Why did that eye come to my mind? I think I need to watch The Lord of the Rings again. Yeah.
Oh, lovely, Sarah.
I do have to go in a few minutes as well.
Oh, that's so good. We'll probably end in a small group, probably end early today.
Okay.
And yes, Sarah, this wonderful. Let me see if there's anything else then for with Anne and Goli, especially, but Anne opened up such a tremendous door for us today, for all of us, and just to make sure there's a full, wonderful, rich closure for everybody, or a full closure. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you,
Anne,
Sid.
yay. How's it going, Anne? How are you doing with all of this?
Well, thank you, Sarah and Goli, for speaking, and of course, Sid. I I followed you Goli, when you said that the I that recognizes the parts is the self, I think was your message. Um, and 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 maybe, and I appreciate that, and so I can recognize that if I follow that prescription, I can recognize the self in me. And there's a part of me that is demanding and wants more of the self. And like the parts seem to have such such distinct presences, such distinct forms, and they do such distinct things. And the self, I want the self to be more defined in, and maybe the nature of the self is not to be defined. So that gives me a lot to think over and ponder. Anyway, thank you for this discussion.
Wow. Goey, any thoughts on that? Anything come up for you as you hear Anne say, and she'd speak for her parts, and we can all find this, right? I want the self to be more defined. We can all just first that we can all relate to that as she says, the parts have such distinct presence and form. I want self to have more, to be more defined like that. Anything arise, Goey, as our author of The Divine Eye today?
Yeah, the only thing I can mention, as you said, and the self cannot be defined. It just can be pointed. And the best pointer for me that worked for me um, to be able to connect with it was the heart, like seeing everything from the heart and realize that if all the other things that comes and goes is in the mind. It's in here, like it's between my two ears. There's always a sound that judges and talks and says and has dialogue. But when I go to the heart, they are all gone. It's just the peaceful. It can be a second, but that second is like a crack that opens up and gets bigger and bigger and just brings everything into it. And just I would say just love every part, love every thought, love everything that arises because it's a part of me still. It's not separate from me. It's just so yeah.
Oh, thank you, Golly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful as we explore together, and each of us are sharing how their systems make sense of this. As Sarah's like, I really got to be with this divine, be with this, or as Sarah speaks about the parts that isolate all of this. It's like each of us. Like, is any of this really separate from us? Is it really Sarah speaking, Golly speaking, Anne speaking, or is it really just speaking about our systems and us and our parts and ourself?
Mm.
And maybe just even glimpses of that, even if that seems like nonsense, just as we play, as we all play together. And so I just want to, as we close, before we close, anything else, Bob? Any final words? And I'll do like a 30-second closure. So it's just thank you for
Sid.
being you, Sarah. Just thank you for being you. And I just think, can you really receive that? Just as we were talking about, wow, there are like 6 gurus here, and that we were doing it together, and like, can you see the beauty in each of us and in ourselves? Like, thank you for just being you, for bringing what was here, and especially when parts feel like there's a burden or they're not spreading the light or that's the really good stuff. It was like it just thank you for being you today for all of us. And then this divine eye that just came out. I don't know where that came from. And it's like, but just thank you each of us for being you. And just I hope you can receive, if you can receive the gift of what you contributed today, that I just get to be the facilitator of all of this and like celebrate each of us and try to put the spotlight on us as we share. But how we all did this in the gift that you gave us, the gift that you gave each of us today. It was such a privilege to be with you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Sid.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.